Some interesting comments made recently by former Megadeth bassist David Ellefson. Speaking of his former bandmate, Dave Mustaine, now back in 2021. Ellefson unceremoniously departed Megadeth, and this wasn't unfortunately the first time. But now he has some interesting comments in this new interview that has some fans wondering if maybe one day we could see David Ellefson return to Megadeth. Of course, we do have him performing at that spectacular final performance from Ozzy Osbourne. Ellefson will be on hand there to pay tribute to the great Ozzy. Megadeth is not there at that show, so unfortunately they won't be able to catch up at that event, but Ellefson there on July 5th will be there. So I want to revisit what happened with Ellefson's departure from Megadeth and whether or not there's any chance for reconciliation. It sounds like David Ellefson is missing his time with Dave Mustaine. In a new interview with The Dell Show, the former Megadeth bassist got pretty candid about where things stand with the band's frontman. When the host mentioned he missed seeing the two of them playing together, Ellefson said, "I miss Dave too. Look, some of the best stories of my life began this time me and Dave, fill in the blank. You know what I mean? Because we lived such an interesting life together with that band. We haven't talked in a few years, but I miss the guy, of course. We had a lot of fun. And anytime we've ever had a falling out like this in the past, as soon as we get back together, it's like we were just hanging out yesterday." Now, obviously, they have a lot of history together because the recent split in 2021 wasn't the first time these two have been at odds. Their relationship has been a cycle of brotherhood, that legal battle, and then his return to Megadeth only to depart once again. It all started back in 1983 after Mustaine was kicked out of Metallica. He connected with Ellefson, and together they co-founded Megadeth. For almost 20 years, Ellefson was the only other consistent member. He was seen as Mustaine's right-hand man, playing all those classic riffs and albums from Peace Sells to Countdown to Extinction. But then the first major break happened in 2002 when Mustaine suffered severe nerve damage in his arm and Megadeth went on hiatus. When Mustaine decided to bring the band back in 2004, Ellefson wasn't a part of the plan. That led to an ugly dispute where Ellefson sued Mustaine for $18 million, claiming he was owed royalties and was a co-owner of the Megadeth name. Mustaine shot back, saying Ellefson was always just a junior partner. That lawsuit was eventually dismissed in 2005, and for years it seemed like that was the end of their story. Then, against all odds, they got back together in 2010 with Ellefson rejoining the band, and it was a huge moment for fans. They went on to make more music, including their album Dystopia, which got them their first ever Grammy. It felt like the band was back together for good. But in May 2021, everything imploded. Messages and videos leaked online, and the fallout was massive. The band would ultimately release a statement on May 24th, 2021. Megadeth announced they were officially firing Ellefson. The statement said that the relationship was too strained, and the situation was damaging to the band. Ellefson then later described the firing as a gut punch, saying the band just abandoned him. He claimed Mustaine never even called him personally, and instead, he heard from an attorney. He felt like history was just repeating itself, and an issue with Mustaine cutting him out instead of trying to work through their issues. I think this is definitely one of those situations where you never say never, where you have the likelihood being pretty low that Ellefson could return to Megadeth. It doesn't appear right now that Mustaine is interested, but maybe if he heard Ellefson's comments, he could possibly reconsider. Certainly the fans would love to see David Ellefson return to Megadeth. I think it would be a big moment for the band. And as Ellefson's pointing out, look, it's water under the bridge every time they've reunited in the past. And this time there wasn't even like some big lawsuit or anything that happened. So who knows? But certainly the fans would be interested in seeing this pairing reunited. So let me know what you all think down in the comments, and thank you to the Feed fam for all of your support. Got your names up on the screen. Hit that join button if you'd like to be a part of it, and I'll see you all in the next video.